Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and all the viewers. Actually, with the recent horrendous attack by the Zionists, the fragile system of hospitals and health in Gaza is actually at breaking point. Maybe they already broke because they simply cannot cope with the sheer huge numbers of casualties. As I was reading yesterday, it was 6,000, but today it's already 2,000 wounded over 7 days. And the hospital, if you are talking, the biggest hospital is Shifa Hospital. Their capacity is 2,500 beds. And you have 8,000 people with multiple injuries, with complicated surgeries that we have to do. It's just like worse than a war zone that I have been before. And there is no space for new patients, but new patients keep coming on because of the continuous bombing. And also we know that Israel is using now the white phosphorus bombs, which is illegal under the international law. And I have actually had the opportunity to be in Gaza post-war in 2008, 2009, and we saw how phosphorus bombs burns the people and the children. They are actually running out of consumables, medications, everything because of the total blockade. And as you know, before the war, all these are also keep coming in, but at a very limited supply. It's not like in Malaysia, we just order and we get it. No. So Gaza is already at the brink of collapse. So when this attack comes, of course, the whole system collapses. Because there are so many surgeries, casualties needing surgeries, of course they have to wait their turn. And the doctors who are working are also limited. The numbers are limited, the specialties are limited, the instruments are limited. With the limited of electricity and water now, and the diesel to run the generator, I cannot actually imagine how the doctors are doing. And we saw in Al Jazeera, doctors are saying that they have been working day and night, 24 hours, without having breakfast, without having food, just to attend to patients. And one of the doctors who is a cosmetic or plastic and reconstructive surgeon, the surgery surgeon, told us that because the water is so low, and most of the casualties are as a result of them coming out of the rubble. And you can see some of the pictures, how the children look like, so how the casualties look like. It's full of dust, and it's not thin dust, but it's very thick dust. So for a person to do a surgery on that condition, the place has to be cleaned very well, because or else there will be infections, and the infection gets spread, and so on and so forth. So you can see, I don't know how to describe, the situation is horrendous with the limitation, with the limitation of medication, everything, and the timing and the energy for the doctors to attend to the patients as well. Unfortunately, one of the surgeons who actually was working day in, day out for 7 days went out of Shifa Hospital to go back to his house to tend to the families, were bombed, and they were martyred as a family. So this is the situation that is happening in Gaza right now, and it's ridiculous for the Israeli to ask all the people to evacuate south. In fact, WHO said moving the vulnerable individuals is tantamount to a death sentence. And asking the health workers to do so is beyond cruelty. it is actually really against the international law. So how are we going to evacuate the sick, the elderly, those people who are in ICU, the babies, the neonates that are born and need incubators? And also, can you imagine? I just cannot imagine how the electricity is being cut. And the diesel that is fueling the generators are going to be finishing. How are these going to be maintained? We ask Allah to help them to ensure that miracle will happen, inshallah. And these are man-made tragedy before has turned into a man-made calamity. And as Dr. Hafizi has mentioned, a few hospitals have been bombed, and we are actually witnessing a second major Nakba or catastrophe after the 1948. So this time around, the Western leaders, especially the US, have actually enabled the Zionists to carry out the genocide by supporting and condoning their actions. And the international communities remains quiet. By us remaining quiet is actually complicit with what Israeli is doing. As regards to the other problem that is happening now, we were told, is that many ambulances are being targeted. So how can the injured go or try to reach the hospital if the ambulances themselves are being targeted? And of course, the infrastructure and the road has been actually destroyed, taking them a long time to reach the hospital. I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist. I just wonder, I'm sure there are so many pregnant women there. I just wonder how they deliver, whether on the road while running, in the house without electricity, without water, without all the basic necessities that is needed. I mean, all of you have wives, all of you have children. You know how we celebrated the delivery and the birthing. We want to make sure that it is safe for both mother and children. Just cannot imagine. Before this war, as a result of so many wars, we know there's a lot of women, children who are suffering psychologically. So we, Rose to Rose, had an opportunity to start a psychological program for the widows and also for the children who are normal as well as handicapped. And what we found out that many women has actually suffers this PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, as we call it, but we cannot call it post because it is an ongoing stress disorder. And we found that some women even have this depression, anxiety, fear of going out and so on, even post 2008 war. They have not been able to actually talk to anybody, release what is in their hearts because they are so busy trying to protect, trying to make sure the family survives, especially if the husband has passed away or been taken into the jail and so on. So as the children as well. So with this program, the woman for the first time felt very relieved with such a program, and they formed a WhatsApp group on their own to actually support themselves. And we also, alhamdulillah, had the opportunity to teach them the first aid psychological practices on what you should do if you have such a trauma. And fortunately or unfortunately, our staff who is conducting this program also realized that she was actually having the same psychological problem because as she manages the program, she felt and ease because of the program that is undergoing to make sure that the program goes continuously and smoothly. She felt that she is also being treated by doing that process. So people of Malaysia, people of the world, people of having conscience cannot sit still. We must act and do something to ensure the humanitarian corridor is open as fast as possible and to stop the genocide as soon as possible. Because I think the people cannot bear any with so many limited things and so many injuries. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you, Dr. Fauzia. I've been listening intensely to what Dr. Fauzia said, being a doctor and a guidance. She has been able to evoke, I think, a very she brought to us a very vivid imagination of the trauma, chaos, sufferings, and the atrocities that have been conducted by our the Zionist regime. So, brothers and sisters who are with us today, by the way, we have now 99 participants online in Zoom, while we are also live streaming it to the YouTube as well as Facebook. We had an earlier initial technical problem that has been sorted out. So, for those friends who want to join this session but are not able to join through Zoom, can also view it from the Facebook or YouTube. I'm going to open for discussion. Yeah? The rule of the discussion is that please raise your hand using the Zoom, and I will allow you to ask the questions, and please name the speakers if you have a specific speaker to ask the question to. Yeah. So please be very brief, and please keep your speaker off, mute until I call your name to ask your questions. Okay, anybody want to ask questions? Please raise your hand from the Zoom. Anyone who wants to ask questions? I'm not seeing hands up yet. Or anyone who may want to add on to what has been said by, okay, Ira. Can you please ask your question now? Ira 6979. To you, Ira.
Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. I just want to ask whether Hamas fighters also been treated in the same hospital? Thank you.
Okay, anyone who want to respond from the speakers? Dr. Fauzia, maybe?
Wallahu a'lam. We were not told of where the Hamas casualties are treated. I don't know.
Dr. Azzam, do you have any information on that?
Of course, we don't know. I mean, these are details that only the people who are in charge would know.
Okay. Any more questions, remarks, you want to add comments to what has been said by our panelists? Please raise your hand in the Zoom. Any questions from the YouTube? Richard?
Can I ask Brother Azzam?
Go ahead.
Brother Azzam, I would like to hear your opinion. What's next after this?
That was supposed to be my second question. Anyway.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So please respond to that.
Well, Allahu A'lam what's next, but we can only talk about possible scenarios. The first scenario is that, as in previous attempts, the Israelis will fail in their ground invasion. This is not the first time, by the way, they try to invade Gaza. Of course, they use a lot of propaganda at the moment to frighten people away, to intimidate them. And they are aided in this by Western politicians, I regret to say, in America, in Britain, in France, in Germany, Italy, everywhere. Except for recently, we're hearing a few voices expressing concern for the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Now, the Al-Qassam people, the military wing of Hamas, are saying they have prepared for the Israelis what will make them regret invading Gaza. That's what they're saying. Now, another scenario is for the Israeli plan to work out. But the Israeli plan the Israeli plan can only work out if Egypt, in particular, collaborates. Now, so far, the statements coming out of Egypt, initially from Al-Azhar, and then from the Egyptian government, is that they would not allow, or they would not want to see, an exodus of the people of Gaza into Sinai. Now, I've read reports in the media about, I don't know how authentic they are, that an entire town has been built in Sinai as part of a previous plan hatched by former President Donald Trump to depopulate Gaza. Now, I haven't seen pictures of this city. I haven't read any authentic reports about this, but people are talking about this. And it remains to be seen. I think it is going to be dangerous for Egypt to allow this to happen on the long term. But of course, the government in Egypt, which toppled Dr. Mohamed Morsi in 2013, is considered to be a very strong ally of Israel in the region at the moment. And I regret to say that had it not been for the silence and probably the acquiescence of Arab governments, Israel would not have been leveling people's houses on their heads in Gaza. Now, a third scenario is for a ground invasion into Gaza to trigger a regional war. People talk about this. I haven't seen signs of it yet. But there are people who expect that Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon would not remain indifferent to an attempt to depopulate Gaza. The argument here is that if Israel succeeds in Gaza, then Israel can succeed elsewhere in doing the same thing. Now, the Iranians have been talking tough, but we are yet to see action. People who support this third scenario think that the Iranians and Hezbollah will take action once the Israeli ground invasion begins. And the reason the Americans sent their aircraft carriers, and the British are sending also warships, probably others are sending other things, not because of Gaza, but because of the likelihood of the expansion of this conflict well beyond Gaza. Now, I can provide you an analysis based on my faith, not based on any military expertise. I'm not a military expert. But on the basis of my faith, I think sometimes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, especially as He tells us in Surah Al-Anfal, when telling us about what happened during the Battle of Badr, and later on in verses in Surah Ali Imran, when He explains to us what happened during the Battle of Uhud. Sometimes you plan something, but it's the will of Allah that it will turn into something else. And I say this because in the Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ and his companions did not go out with the intention of having a fight with Quraysh. Far from it. The Prophet ﷺ did not mobilize the entire people of Medina. He only accompanied about 310 people, 310 of his followers, and went out because they heard the news of a trade caravan led by Abu Sufyan traveling back from Asham to Mecca. And because their wealth, their possessions were confiscated, were seized. Shall I continue?
Doctor, I think there's some people unmute. Yeah, I will mute them. Okay, continue.
So it's okay? I can continue?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please, Doctor.
Now, you know that the Muhajirun, the Muslims who migrated from Mecca to Medina, lost all their properties, and the Qurayshis took their wealth. So when this trade caravan was coming back from Asham to Mecca, this was an opportunity for these victims of Quraysh to take back some of their belongings. So they went out for the trade, for the caravan. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَوَدُّونَ أَنَّ غَيْرَ ذَاتِ الشَّوْكَةِ تَكُونُ لَكُمْ. You were praying and you were hoping that you won't enter into confrontation. You wanted it simple and easy. But Allah wanted something else. And Allah destined the two parties to clash, because the Battle of Badr was the first step in the establishment of the Ummah. Now, I hear from some sources that actually Hamas only wanted to capture about 10 Israeli soldiers in the hope of forcing Israel to conclude a prisoner exchange deal with them, like the Shalit one more than 10 years ago. However, when their fighters entered into this zone, they managed to break through the fence and somehow paralyze all these electronic reconnaissance and monitoring technology. They found that the Israelis were actually surrendering. The entire region was on its knees. So many people entered into the region, ordinary citizens of Gaza, who happened to be the children of the people who were dispossessed and expelled from the areas where the Zionists are staying or are living today. They went into those areas and started celebrating and praying, and some of them even took prisoners by themselves, and it became a huge operation. Now, if what these sources say is true, Hamas did not initially intend this to be a major operation, but it turned into a major operation, a huge operation that stunned the entire world and sent American and European officials frantically seeking to aid the Israelis in whatever way possible. So sometimes you plan something small, but it's the will of Allah that it turns into something completely different, unintended, and with unintended circumstances. Now we know, I tell you this as a Palestinian, as an Arab, and as a Muslim. I've always believed, and many millions like me believe, and I'm sure many of those who are joining us today believe, that Israel has no future in this part of the world. This part of the world is part of the Muslim Ummah. It's a land invaded initially by the British and then by the Zionists in order to prevent the Ummah from ever standing on its feet. Israel is just another colonial project, like the French colonialism of Algeria, like the American colonialism of Vietnam, like the British, the Spanish, the Dutch, the Italian, the French colonialism before. And it's going through the same phases. And it is very likely that what we saw happen on the 7th of December, on the 7th of October, is marking the beginning of the end, the beginning of the final phase in the life of this Zionist entity that was planted in Palestine.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar walillahilhamd. There are panelists, there are also questions here on the chat. I will read it and please respond. Salam, I'm Alzinda from UMPSA. I would like to know, other than financial aid and anything else we can help? Yeah? So do you want to respond? Or should I read all questions and probably respond accordingly? Yeah? This is to Dr. Azzam. What is the position of Rafah closing, where the Egyptian authority allows it to Gaza? And one question here, was it really Hezbollah Iranian involved in the first move to invade Israel? So there are three questions, one directed to Dr. Azzam, the two without mentioning. Any of the panel can respond to the other two. But you want to respond, Dr. Azzam, on the first question?
Yes, well, regarding aid for the people of Gaza, there are charities around the world who are fundraising, and international charities. So people who desire to donate should just look for the charities operating in their region or elsewhere where they can reach them, and the internet is full of such appeals. Now, the second question, the last question was about Hezbollah and Iran, right? Or what was the second question?
The second question was on whether Rafah is open.
Yes. Oh no, the Egyptians do open the Rafah crossing from time to time, of course, not permanently, and of course they coordinate this with the Israelis aggressively. And in this crisis, the Egyptians would love to open the Rafah crossing for aid convoys and for people to come over if they need help, etc. But the Israelis have threatened. The Israelis have threatened to bomb any movement across. This is what was announced several days ago, and I heard a report. I'm not sure, but I heard a report that one truck was even hit by the Israelis. It was carrying it. So the Israelis threatened that if the Rafah crossing is opened and any convoys are allowed into Gaza, they'd come under Israeli fire.
The question on Hezbollah?
Well, Hezbollah is a Lebanese group that was initially funded and trained by Iran because Lebanon was occupied by Israel. I mean, people probably forget that the young people who were not yet born don't probably know much about this history. Lebanon was invaded in 1982 by Israel all the way to Beirut. And then after a while they withdrew but maintained the southern part under their occupation until the year 2000, nearly until the year 2000, imagine. So naturally, the people of the south, who happen to be a majority Shiite community, there are Sunnis as well, organized themselves in a resistance movement, and that is Hezbollah, and they did a great job resisting the Israelis and liberating their country. Now, Hezbollah is continues to be there. It is well armed. It is also involved in the administration of the affairs of the population in the south of Lebanon and also in parts of Beirut. But of course, it is governed by geopolitics. So Hezbollah is an ally of both Iran and Syria, and any action it takes in the confrontation with Israel would have to be coordinated with Iran and Syria, because they are the ones who created it, and they are the ones who provided with logistical support, other forms of support. Now, there has in the past, to the best of my knowledge, cooperation between Hezbollah and Hamas in terms of training. When Israel deported to the south of Lebanon around 410 Palestinians, leader from Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Naturally, they made use of their presence there to learn things from others. This is a liberation project in which you learn not only from history about what happened to similar projects, but also you need to learn from the expertise of people who have fought similar battles. And Hezbollah had the experience. But I don't think that, I don't have any knowledge or evidence that Hezbollah is directly involved in Gaza. It's far away anyway. People are waiting, as I said in explaining the third possible scenario, are waiting to see action in the north of Palestine. Because Hezbollah has the ability to engage the Israelis, but of course, they need to be wary, as they usually are, of the repercussions of this, because the Israelis will start bombing Lebanon right and left, and Lebanon has a population of a mosaic composition. Not everybody sees eye to eye with Hezbollah, and not everybody will agree that a Lebanese faction should get involved in a war with Israel, because this will have devastating effects on them. Unfortunately, this is the situation in the region.
Thank you, Dr. Azzam. To the two other panelists, I think you may want to respond to the MPSA just now, which is on the other than financial aid and what else can we do? And there's a similar question of that nature from our sister from Brunei. As an NGO from Brunei, in what way are the ways can we further contribute and help? And if advice that we can ease our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine. So please, either Dr. Fawzia or Dr. Hafizi. Dr. Azzam, there are a few more questions to you, which I will read after this. It's on geopolitics. Can Dr. Fawzia and Dr. Hafizi may want to respond to the two questions just now? And adding on to what Dr. Azzam, feel free to do so.
The Dr. Zaharuddin, can I give some feedback on the issues of helping out or contributing to the cause? Number one, the most important thing I think is the state of the mind. We, as Muslims especially, we need to have that conviction, strong conviction. But we must remember that what Dr. Azzam has related just now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who saw what happened in Badr, in Uhud, Khandaq, in Hunain, whether the Muslims won or otherwise, and then bigger battles fought later on against the Romans and the Persians, Yarmouk, Ajnuddin, Qadisiyah. We know the Muslims have fared well in those battles. So what happened in the past, the same Allah that oversaw all these military victories by the Muslims or otherwise, is the same Allah that is overseeing what is happening in Gaza now. Of course, we suffered just like the Prophet Muhammad SAW and the Sahaba suffered in Uhud. But the enemies, they suffered too. And while we have hopes, high hopes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't have any. So they have to rely on their own strength, which is nothing in comparison to what Allah has in store for us to face off these enemies. So dua, what I want to say is, dua is so central. Munajat, we need to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the sincerest heart, help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and help us to help them. So that's number one, dua. And then on the monetary contribution, I can only speak on behalf of MyCARE, and we have actually provided in the region of 20 billion US dollar in terms of medical aid in the first day of the attack. And we would like to increase that to 50,000. Sorry, not 20 million, 20,000, which is a meager amount. We would like to increase that to 50,000 US dollar after that, but we found that there is a difficulty in getting the aid through. As we know that they are closing the borders, they are preventing it from coming into Rafah. They bomb the Palestinian side of Rafah. Even Egypt has given the assurance that international humanitarian can channel their aid at Al-Arish, but there is no guarantee that the aid will get through. And we know Egypt is a strong ally to Israel since the Camp David agreement way back in 1978. But let us worry about how to get through the aid. Alhamdulillah, last couple of days, people has been giving generously. We have collected around 700,000 Malaysian ringgit, 700,000, and we are just waiting for the situation when it is feasible for us to channel the aid in terms of medical supplies, in terms of food and so on. And we are also preparing our missions. We are sending missions, inshallah, at the ready. Once the situation allows, our volunteers will go in, and especially the first priority will be the medical aid, and also the doctors, the medical doctors. They will be the first preferred to go in and provide the much needed medical treatment in Gaza. So please continue to contribute and not to be discouraged by what is happening today. Allah SWT will ease the situation. I would like to recall what is happening in Handa. Handa is a classic textbook military adventure whereby the people of Medina, Rasulullah and the Sahaba, were surrounded by 10,000 strong the Azzam, by the Azzam, and the Munafiquns. They were putting fear into the hearts of the Muslims, and they say things that try to discourage them. Look, you are being surrounded. You are being surrounded. So have fear. Be afraid. So what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, and it increased the faith of the Muslims. And they were being assured when they said, Mata Nasrullah, where is the help of Allah SWT? And Rasulullah said, Inna Allah, Mata Nasrullah,
ألا إن نصر الله قريب.
Inna Nasrullah qarib. Indeed, the aid and the help from Allah SWT is near. So when they see this Al-Ahzab, this so many tribes coming to surround them, what they see did not instill fear in them, and in fact it increased the fear. That is happening in Gaza. While they are being surrounded, and it's not a new experience. They have been living under occupation, under siege, under blockade for 17 years now, at least in Gaza. So, inshallah, will strengthen them in terms of faith, in terms of resolve. So, what we need is to not to lose faith in our brothers and sisters. So, keep on sharing session like this. We should ask our families, our friends to join in and listen to what experts like Dr. Azzam Tamimi is telling us and sharing with us. We need to spread this message far and wide. We need to talk to our colleagues. We need to speak to our neighbors, to our carriers, and invite speakers to update us on what is happening in this. It's very important because the narratives of the Zionists is circulating widely on the social media, and somehow it affects the confidence of the Muslims. Some of them even have lost faith in what is happening, which shouldn't happen. Some of them simply do not know the background. They do not know the slightest. They don't have the slightest idea about the history. They only know that Hamas is conducting this invasion. They use the words that Israel is using: invasion, killings. Somehow it affects the mentality and also the viewpoints, the worldview of the international community. This shouldn't happen. That's why we must go back to history. History is not for just our reading. It's not just for our reading. It's for us to actually try to dig deep into the messages that we should extract from these important events, because it is a repeat of what is happening in the past. Hamas, our Palestinian brothers, they are not just defending the homeland, they are defending the rights of the Muslims, also humanitarian all over. They are defending our blessed land, Al-Quds, defending Masjid Al-Aqsa. They are defending the rights of the refugees, the right of return. There are 5 million of them languishing in the refugee camps around Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, even Egypt. We must stand by them. And remember, there are many hadith that foresee or predicts, prophesies what is going to happen, what's next. In the end, we will preserve. They will prevail. Our brothers and sisters, but they will prevail. And Rasulullah has said this in one hadith sahih. There is a group of people which continue to fight, which continue to resist, and no one can actually affect them or hurt them, and until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory. So this is just a statement. It can happen anywhere. But the Sahaba, the companion, asked Rasulullah, they inquire, where is this, Ya Rasulullah? They ask because they want to be with this group. They want to be in the company of these people. And Rasulullah did not say anywhere, it can be anywhere. Rasulullah said, clearly Rasulullah said, in Baitul Maqdis and around Baitul Maqdis. So what is happening now is a reality. What has been said, what has been foretold. There's another hadith, I think we need to share this and spread it far and wide. Rasulullah described these people in Sham, whereby Palestine, Al-Quds is part of this, Gaza is part of this, and as I said, they, describing these people, their wives, their children, their helpers, which include us, insyaAllah, they will be in the ribat. Ribat means a fortress, or a fort, or a defending post, position. And they will remain so until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory. So we see how composed these people are in very trying times. They remain steadfast, they remain true to the principles, they never give up. They are completely convinced of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised, and it will come true. It's just like what has been promised to the people during the time of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. They has been under the Salibiyah, the crusade for 100 years, and they have not lost faith until Salahuddin al-Ayyubi and the Muslims liberated Al-Aqsa and Al-Quds in the year 1187. That's after 100 years of subjugation. The same thing is happening now. That's why Shahid Ahmad Yassin predicted, based on the events, that Israel will be no more around 2030s. Before 2030s, Israel will be no more. So those words should continue to inspire us, to continue to help, to continue to give aid, continue to, in our supplication, in our doa, kunut nazilah, continue to ask from Allah Ta'ala in our prostration, ask in the middle of the night, in our qiyam, in our tahajjud. Do not underestimate, even though we think that our doa is not significant. Don't even think of that. We are all sinners. We engage ourselves in a lot of maziah, but that doesn't stop us from asking from Allah Ta'ala. Allah will listen. Allah will listen. Wallahu alam. Thank you, Zakulah. Jazakallah khairan, Doctor.
Can I just mention sekejap je?
Silakan, Doctor.
Actually, I'm taking this opportunity because when we listen to our dear friend Abir in Gaza asking for help, we ladies cannot sit still, and fortunately, Alhamdulillah, today we were having our women meeting, and we have decided, so I'm taking this opportunity to call for all women to come with us. We are handing a protest letter to the Embassy of UK and Embassy of US on Friday at 12 noon on the 20th of October. So we hope with 3 demands. Number 1 is to stop the genocide. Number 2 is to open the humanitarian corridor as soon as possible. And number 3, to uplift the total blockade of Gaza. I mean, this you may say, they will not listen, but I think the more people putting pressure on them, we hope also they cannot sleep at night.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Fawzah. Yes, ladies, you can join hands with Dr. Fawzah and his team. Has been shared. Okay, we are coming to the last round of our forum. Yeah, there are a lot of questions on the chat. I'm going to read it. Yeah, so each panel you can respond to any of those questions, and then end with the concluding remarks about these forums. Yeah, so let me read those questions. Okay, hold on. This is to Dr. Azzam. What is the position? This been answered. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, that's been answered. Okay, hold on. Yeah. I'm reading the question. Okay. Okay. Salam. I'm Nabila from Penang. Question to Dr. Azzam. What is your opinion on geopolitical strategy? Will US directly involved in this war? Will Turkey, Chechens, and Afghanistan join forces with Hamas? What is your opinion on this? Yeah. Next questions. Please take note, panelists. Dr. Azzam, as a sovereign state, why Palestine don't have its own police, soldiers, government, all the security forces as normal country? Another questions open. Why Fatah as its authority don't have this? No courage, no enough funds to fight against fully equipped Israel? Okay, this is to Dr. Hafizi or Dr. Azzam. There was an opinion that this move by Hamas is for two motives. To get bargaining power by having Israeli hostages, and second, to halt the normalization between Saudi and Israel. How accurate is this opinion, and if it is it sustainable, or will there be other way more effective? Okay, Brunei, I think you have answered this now. Then there's another question to MyCARE. Okay, I think I've requested MyCARE to deal directly with Nabila, because there's a question how to become MyCARE volunteer to participate in mission to Gaza. Dr. Azzam or Dr. Hafizi, Israel Armed Forces is known for its state-of-the-art weapons in technology. So do you think that Hamas has sufficient weaponry ability to win this war against Israel? I think that has been answered indirectly just now. But if you may want to respond, please do so, yeah? Okay. One of the major objectives was to stop normalization by the Saudi, and for now has been achieved. What happens if the Saudi decide otherwise later? What is our role and action to be done, which is on the normalization? Okay. What will happen now? I think each panel, please respond to any question that you feel appropriate, and then end with a conclusion of passing remarks to the audience. We're going to end at 5 sharp. So I open that to any panel to respond in any order. Please do so. Who would like to respond?
Well, regarding normalization in Saudi Arabia, I don't think that the Hamas attack on the 7th of October was intended to spoil it for Saudi Arabia. Perhaps the result is that this has been put on the shelf for now, because it can be very embarrassing for the Saudis, who were nearly just a few yards away from concluding a deal with the Israelis. Now, the regime in Saudi Arabia has its own agenda, has its own plan. Like other Arab regimes in the region, they really don't think of the Palestinians, and they are not. They don't have any sentiment in favor of the people. They rule themselves. These are despotic, dictatorial regimes. They'll probably behave or act afterwards depending on the outcome of this conflict. Now, Hamas is definitely not a match for Israel. Israel is armed to the teeth with the latest lethal technology or weaponry that humanity has ever invented. But Hamas has something that the Israelis don't have, and that is the willingness to sacrifice oneself for the cause. And that is something the Israelis cannot understand, because whereas the fighters of Hamas love to be martyred for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in resistance and in combating falsehood and injustice, the Israelis hate to die, whether peacefully or in military action. And I think that's something that depends on one's fate. I regret that I don't remember what the questions were, so I've just answered on what I do remember.
You want to read again the question, or that's what you respond?
I don't know. Is there any question you think I need to address?
I think there was a lot the geopolitics situation where there will be a war. You know, the geopolitics.
Yeah, I mentioned this. This is a likely scenario that perhaps there will be an expansion of the conflict, and that's why the Americans came and they are deployed now in the Mediterranean. Now, the Americans. Now, how likely are the Americans to intervene? Of course, the Americans are part of this conflict because they are the ones who are providing Israel with weapons, with technology, with diplomatic cover, with political cover. They are involved entirely. But whether they will have boots on the ground, American boots on the ground, we don't know. Some of the people in Gaza claim, and I don't know where this came from, that the bombardment of Gaza is carried out, at least partly, by American pilots. Now, this is possible or not, I don't know. Do the Israelis need pilots from America now? I'm not so sure, but this has been rumored. Now, if this war expands beyond Gaza, there will be havoc. There will be havoc everywhere, definitely. And I think some of the regimes in the region are very anxious about this because it could indeed what's that? It could indeed cause the downfall of some of these regimes.
Dr. Azzam, sorry to interrupt, but I just want to know that you see that now all the Palestinians just waiting like suicidal. You have nothing to fight, so just wait.
Well, they are fighting. They're firing rockets on Israel. They haven't stopped this, but they are not a match to Israeli weaponry. They only hope that if Israel makes the mistake of invading Gaza, that they will be able to have a real fight with the soldiers on the ground.
Okay, Doctor, you may want to say your parting words, or that's have been said.
Yes, that's been said.
Okay.
Well, I would like to thank you for organizing this and for inviting me. And I would urge every person that is watching us or hearing us today to go and educate themselves about the roots of the conflict. It makes a big difference when you know, once you've known how all this started. Because it's very confusing if you don't know the history behind it.
Thank you, Dr.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Address maybe a couple of questions. One, I think on the issue of weaponry, the aspect of military-wise, one of the question that was posted: how can Hamas or Palestinian face up to Israel, which is has been acclaimed to be the fourth strongest army in the world? Or if you relate that to the US, then it's the strongest army because they have access to all the latest weaponry in American weapon arsenal. But please remember, that's why Dr. Azzam has reiterated many times the importance of learning from history, not just from our classical history, at the time of Prophet Muhammad and the Sahaba, but even in the most recent times. Look at Vietnam. They managed to kill 2 million Vietnamese using the most sophisticated weapon back then. They used the B-52s, they used whatever weapons that they had. And competing with the Viet Congs, who only have small arms, small rifles, AK-47. And yet they were victorious in 1975. And look at Afghanistan, how they defeated Soviet, the Mujahideen. Well, what happened after that is not relevant here. But the Mujahideen, they managed to defeat the Soviet in 1979. And what happened? It brought down to the downfall of the Soviet and Soviet Union, USSR, broke down into 17 CIS states. And that's why you don't talk about sophisticated weapon here. What we need is a strong will, the strong will of the people, and no types of weaponry, the most sophisticated even, can beat the will of the people. If the will is so strong, especially when you're defending your own homeland, nothing can actually overdo that, can overcome that. Sooner or later, it doesn't matter how many years it's going to take. Like Vietnam, it took them 30 years to actually dislodge the American and drove the Americans out. Similarly, what is happening in Gaza, and when it comes to weaponry, the people in Gaza, the resistance fighters, they know the importance of having the technology. They know the importance of having the state-of-the-art weapon, and they built on that. But when the first attack came in 2008 in Gaza, they have this rocket that have a very short range. They can only aim at border cities like Sderot, like Ashkelon. But now they have developed rockets that have the capability to reach up to the northernmost part of Israel, and Tel Aviv has been targeted by the rocket. So they are building on the capability, weaponry capability, and they have also developed. This is the latest development. They have developed a surface-to-air missile system that can bring down Israeli fighter jets and attack helicopters and so on. So year after year, you are seeing they are getting more sophisticated in terms of weapons. I remember 4 years ago, they have assassinated Dr. Fadi Albas in Malaysia, in Gombak. I'm sure all of us is aware of this. And that is one of around 200 assassinations around the world, and they are targeting intellectuals. They don't want intellectuals to develop renewable energy, for instance, electronic devices, artificial intelligence. So they have conducted such assassination, killing intellectuals, no matter what their field of expertise is, their discipline of knowledge is. They don't want capacity building in Gaza. That's why this is one of the biggest area where we can collaborate with academics in Gaza and also in Palestine to help them build a system so that they can face up to the. This is one of the most feared by Israel. Okay, and then there is a question on saying that why did betul tak ni Dr. Zahruddin, why didn't Palestine has a police, an army, a government, right? That was one of the question.
That was a question, yeah.
Yes, Palestine is not a sovereign state. That's why it's very important, like Dr. Azzam Tamimi, for us to have a good grasp of the history. Palestine is not a sovereign state. It's under occupation. So, talk about police system. Yes, Israel has funded, has given the biggest fund to PA, Palestine Authority, which is Fatah, and they use Fatah. This is called clean imperialism. They use Fatah to suppress the other resistance faction, especially Hamas. Not they don't have a police force, they have a police force, but this police force is under the jurisdiction of the Israeli. They were under the Israeli command. So that's the police force we are talking about. So they don't have a sovereign government, no, even less an army, but they have developed a capacity, a military capacity that is almost match what the Israeli have, especially on ground fighting. Although they don't have the sophisticated weapon, they are up to date weapons that the Israeli have. So please be aware that Palestine is not a sovereign state, it's under occupation, and Gaza, especially that small part, Gaza Strip, that small part, about 40 kilometers long, about in average 5 to 6 kilometers wide, that is under siege and under economic blockade for the past 17 years, from 2007. Why? Because Hamas won a landslide victory in the first Palestine legislative election in 2006. And then Israel denied them from forming a democratic government, and instead they imposed an economic blockade and siege up until today. That is the reality. So please do not look at Palestine as a sovereign state. They are not like any other state. They are not like Ukraine, who has been attacked by Russia. Ukraine is a sovereign state. Palestine is not a sovereign state. They don't have a seat in the United Nations. They only have a representative with no voting right. And it depends on the member states of the United Nations and also the Security Council to fight on their behalf and to issue resolution, which whenever the resolution is in favor of the Palestinian, the US will veto it. The US and the Security Council will veto it. There's more than 100 resolutions that is in favor of Palestine that has been vetoed or that has been trampled upon by the US and also their allies. Wallahu alam. Concluding remark, Brother Zahrudin.
Your concluding remark.
My concluding remark. Please, this is what we need to do. We need to speak to others. We need to organize even small talks among our colleagues, our careers, our family. Talk to them in a language that they can understand. Tell them what is actually happening. What is the history behind this? So that no one is confused. We need to convince the public so that they have a clear mind of what is happening. We don't want to have people who is uncertain. Why should we be helping Hamas? They are the ones who started those kind of remarks. So let them deal with it themselves. They are responsible. If we do not know the background, they are under siege. Food, water, electricity is being is only on for a couple of hours a day. They don't have the rights to have free movement like this. They cannot move in and out as they wish, like we do. You can go anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. Even some of us can go to Baitul Maqdis and go to Al-Aqsa, whereas the Palestinians are not allowed to, giving the impression that, well, we have the access to Masjid Al-Aqsa. Why bother? Some of them even claim that because of Hamas, now we cannot visit Masjid Al-Aqsa. So that kind of understanding needs to be corrected. That's why some ulama, Dr. Yusuf Qaradawi, he made it visitation to Al-Aqsa is not permissible for Muslims outside Palestine. Remember, those in Gaza, which is about like 60 kilometers away from Baitul Maqdis, they have never visited Al-Aqsa all their life, and we were given the access. We were even escorted by the Israeli security force.
We have Sister Abdul Barakat joining us.
Okay.
We will get to some time air for her.
Yes. Jazakumullah khairan katsira for all the listeners, for the organizer Aidil, especially. We appreciate it, and Brother Dr. Azzam Tamimi, your presence is very much appreciated in giving the true light of what is happening in Gaza. Welcome, Sister Abdul Barakat. Jazakumullah khairan katsira.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Fizi. Sister Abir, I understand you are directly from Gaza at the moment.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Probably you want to it touched me that you're joining us. Please, the floor is to you now to share what's happening there, and what are the words that you want to say to us. Tafadhal, yes,
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, Dr. Hafizi, Dr. Zaharuddin, and everyone on this Zoom meeting. The situation is really very horrible and catastrophic, actually. Alhamdulillah, every day we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for surviving the night, because night is always harder than daylight. Bombing always concentrates during the night. And yesterday we thought that, since we heard in the news that Israel just initiated the land invasion, we thought that it's going to happen, especially that they have evacuated many areas in the northern side of Gaza, and that they bombed a lot of the inhabited areas in the north. And the whole night we had a bomb and light bomb shells, which makes the sky always red and lighting. So it was really scary. Usually they use these light bombs when there is a land invasion. About the warnings in the few days for people to go south, many people replied to this and went south to the middle governorates and southern governorates, but unfortunately the Israelis, as they are always liars and they cannot be trusted, although they said there will be a safe passage for people who go south, they have been bombed in the roads, they have been bombed in the places where they took refuge in. And the other people who were going there without having any relatives or friends to stay with, they are staying in miserable situation, including my family. And when I say my family, I mean my father, my brothers, my aunts, and their families. They are staying in a condensed area. Men are at schools. Men are staying in a two-bedroom with other 50 women. So it is a very humiliating situation. And many of these people who evacuated south are coming back to Gaza. Alhamdulillah, for me and my sisters, we stayed with our husbands. Each one of us stayed with her husband and the extended family of her husband. We didn't evacuate Gaza. But although we are staying, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in homes, not in schools, but the situation at home is also grave. For the water tanks we are having, they are about to be finished. We try to use water with with how can I say this? We limit the use of water to the best we can for wudu and for using sanitation and going to the toilet. I haven't had a shower for a week, by the way, which is really horrible, alhamdulillah. And for the food, it's very scarce. Also, whatever we had at home, if it is gone, then that's it. If it is enough, I mean, there is no other. Shops are closed because people are either scared or they are not here in Gaza anymore. The news about the people being killed and bombed every day is increasing. Especially, we hear they labeling the multi. It was really makes you sick because many of these people you know by first hand. They are your friends, your neighbors. It's like this, and the new trend that we have in last few days is that they are targeting doctors. The other day, I think yesterday, they targeted Dr. Berhad. He's while he was leaving the Shifa hospital, he stayed in the hospital for 6 days, working non-stop. And when he was leaving to see his family's needs, he has been bombed at the near the Shifa hospital. By dawn, they have targeted the house of Dr. Omar Firwana, the ex-dean of the College of Medicine at the Islamic University of Gaza, and his wife. She's a doctor as well, and they have wiped out their whole family. And of course, we have seen how they have bombed hospitals and boarded 22 hospitals in Gaza to evacuate and go south. But of course, this is not going to happen because this means a death sentence for all the patients with critical situation in these hospitals. They also bombed ambulances with patients in them. So we are in front of a very humanitarian, a big humanitarian crisis. You can call it a genocide. This is a new Nakba. This is exactly the 1948 Nakba. It's happening all over again, and I have shared with my friend who shared this also. I told her that this is exactly what I heard from my grandmother when she told us about how the people in 1948 escaped their homes because they heard about the people being killed and massacred in their villages, and how women were raped, how kids have been decapitated. So they decided to escape, and they thought they are going back home, but of course they didn't. So this kind of panic that Israel is creating is actually to make people go south and escape, and then of course, as we all know, to make the deal of the century, to apply it on the ground, as they want us to be refugees in Sinai, and inshallah it's not going to happen. And so inshallah, this migration will not take place. That's why my family and I, we decided not to leave. We are not repeating the mistake of our grandparents at all. We either stay and die in dignity in our homes or not. We are not going to put us into a humiliation of leaving our homes and our city. Another thing is the lack of international aid, because international aid is not allowed to enter through Egypt. So whatever is happening, or whatever people are trying to bring to Gaza, is not going to come until Egypt can actually make it easy to enter or enforce its power, because this is nonsense. Egypt is the biggest country in the area, in the Middle East, and it's unable to force entering the aid to the Palestinians. And of course, they were scared because Israel has bombed as an excuse, have bombed the only crossings. But I think if Egypt wants to help, it would help. Another betrayal that we had as Palestinians is the Jordanian military hospital that was established after the aggression of 2016, I guess. I'm not sure, but that hospital, the King Abdullah ordered the hospital to be evacuated. So instead of standing with the people here and helping and aiding them, he's closing the hospital. Of course, this is something we cannot forgive. So we feel that our Arab brothers, and I mean here the governments, not the people, they are leaving us alone. and they are actually accessoring the Israelis in their the Zionists in their crime. That's the situation so far, and of course I'm not gonna hide this truth, but we are scared. I'm not gonna tell you that we are totally brave. What is making us put together is our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It brings together. We keep the 4 or 5 prayers together as a family. We make our dua all together, and we read the Quran, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put His sakina and His peace on our hearts. So this is what makes us, feel that inshallah nothing bad will happen to us, because inshallah this is all is going to be in our reward in the hereafter and in this dunya. So yes, we are scared, but not scared of death. I tell you, I'm only scared for my daughters. I'm only scared for my sons. I don't want to live with the feeling that they are all dead and I'm alive. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we die in this aggression, that we die all together. I don't want to live with the feeling that I have lost any of them, because this is really horrible. It's horrible. And yesterday I was thinking to myself that the people who have been murdered, alhamdulillah, they are the winners. They are the true winners in this, because they are seeing no more any of these atrocities. But we who are living, who live after this, who survive after this, I guess we are the miserable ones, because we have to live with the agony of losing our loved ones, and the agony of rebuilding all of this damage and destruction, to live with the images of the destruction around us. That's all for me.
Jazakillah khairan, Sister Abir. I think everyone hearing your narrations, I'm sure very touched and very encouraged by courage going through these difficult times. Yeah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will continue to give you all the courage, and inshallah, I'm sure we in Malaysia will not leave you alone. We will try our best to help you in whatever way. I will definitely, and when the opens up the border, if any, we will definitely, inshallah, be with you in terms of our assistance. Thank you, Sister. Jazakillah khairan. We're going to end now. Dr. Fauzia, you may want to come in to say your parting words before we end the forum. Tafadhal, Dr. Fauzia.
Well, first thing, I am so glad to see Abir live. We have been communicating, and I'm always waiting for her words and for her news. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep you safe at the family, and inshallah we also pray that this genocide will stop as soon as possible, and the humanitarian aid will come in, inshallah. Parting words, well, I think we leave what Abir has been saying. I actually prepared to say something about Fatah, but I think it will be not appropriate at the moment. I think we leave it as what Abir said is best to end this.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Sister Abir. I think there are 3 things that resonate through our discussion with Sister Abir. One of the things that strongly resonates within the discussion is that we have faith that Israelis do not have. Yeah? So, brothers have quoted how all the wars in the historical, how we have won, and we are hopeful, inshallah. This time around, it will end in the winning of Gaza. Number 2, Palestinian is our cause. It's not only Palestinian. It's everybody's cause. It's everybody's responsibility, and everyone has a duty, a responsibility to contribute to the cause and alleviate the suffering of our brothers and sisters. Again and again, thank you very much, Jazakumullah khairan, for everyone. I hope the messages that have been said eloquently with a lot of passions from our speakers resonate into our hearts. And this session does not stop here. We need to hold hands. We need to go out there. We need to educate. We need to campaign. We need to do whatever we can, yeah, for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And in ideal, we will try to continue organizing such events, such this kind of spirit, this kind of sharing, this kind of brotherhood that we are hearing among us, will, will resonate with others in the communities. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה.
اللهم إنك ترى ما نزل بنا في غزة من الأحوال يا ذا الجلال والعزة يا ذا الجبروت والعزة. اللهم أعز أهل غزة اللهم أعز أهل غزة اللهم فرج عن أهل غزة اللهم فرح أهل غزة اللهم انصر أهل غزة اللهم داو جريحهم اللهم اشف مريضهم اللهم اقبل شهيدهم اللهم ارحم ميتهم اللهم كفكف جراحاتهم وبرد آلامهم اللهم واجعل لهم وللمسلمين فرجا قريبا يا الله. اللهم فرج عنا وعن المسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين واخذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين. سبحانك سبحانك ترى الظالمين فتمهلهم حتى يظنوا أنك تهملهم وتبتلي الصالحين في الدنيا حتى يستيئسوا فإن استيئسوا أتيتهم بنصرهم. اللهم إنك تعلم أن جراحات المسلمين كثيرة وآلامهم كثيرة في كل مكان وفي كل زمان. اللهم فانصرنا على أعدائنا يا الله. اللهم فثبت أقدامنا يا الله.